In a recent video on this channel, we covered some of the military undertakings that are currently happening on the Gaza Strip. It is important for us to understand that it is of utmost importance for the Israeli military to at least feign the image of success, military success, on the Gaza Strip. Across the world, and even in Israel within itself, many are campaigning for the military operations to stop. To justify the continuation of their military assault, the Israelis need to prove to their sponsors all over the world that there is something happening from their assault, that they are progressing militarily. And one thing to note here, this is not just about public opinion. For the United States of America, for Joe Biden specifically, he needs to see results. He is currently sponsoring the Israeli campaign, so they require results. Especially with Biden having an election coming up next year, as he considers whether or not he should continue to support Benjamin Netanyahu. Until now though, Israel has had limited military success. For example, in the near 50 days of the fighting before the ceasefire, they failed to free any hostages. And since then, we saw the Israelis launch a failed operation in order to free the hostage, Sar Barush, and they lost troops in the process, whilst the hostage himself was killed. Meanwhile, multiple videos have been released by the Palestinian resistance where they are destroying Israeli tanks, sniping Israeli soldiers, and catching them in ambushes. The videos which are circulating online are showing resistance fighters engaging with and dealing heavy damage to Israeli forces on the ground. And in response, the Israelis have released their own footage. However, many have pointed out that this footage actually shows Israeli soldiers firing at nothing. And the fact that this video was faked shows that it is actually of utmost importance for the Israelis to project an image that yes, we are doing something on the Gaza Strip. We are causing damage. And within this context, pictures were released which are purported to show Hamas fighters and affiliates being captured in Gaza. This was a sudden apparent victory for the IDF. The images are disturbing, parallels with images of the Holocaust. And these are the same images that Israel are relying upon to provide justification for the existential threat that they are facing to justify their incursion on the Gaza Strip. Very soon after Israeli channels released this footage, people started to ask the question, why did these people need to be stripped? Why are they being paraded? Amongst the most ludicrous and insensitive responses was the response of Mark Regev. You may have seen him representing the Israelis on mainstream media channels. He mentioned that this should not be an area of concern. The weather in Gaza is warm.
Showing dozens of men, some bound and blindfold, stripped to their underwear, and we believe now at least some of that filmed by IDF members. What was the purpose of the exercise that was going on at that point in that part of Gaza?
First of all, remember it's the Middle East and it's warmer here, and especially during the day when it's sunny, it's to be asked to take off your shirt. It might not be pleasant, but it's not the end of the world.
And others argued that these measures were necessary to make sure that these people were not wearing suicide vests. After all, if they were wearing suicide vests, would that not be their course of action? When we get close to Israeli soldiers, we must detonate our suicide vests? Others were immediately skeptical in kind, as the motto of the Qassam brigades is, in victory or death. They thought that this would make a sudden capture of tens of soldiers very unlikely. And then we have the videos released. These images have been criticized by many as being quite clearly staged. The same images have the gun being raised in different hands, indicating that more than one take of this incident occurred. And that is without considering, as many have mentioned, the ridiculousness of stripped Hamas members still having guns to turn into IDF forces. The story though becomes even more concerning when these so-called Hamas members started being identified as civilians. The man being filmed holding a gun has been identified by some as a Palestinian workshop owner. The BBC have said that one of those in the footage from Beit Lahia was a journalist who works for a London-based Arab organization.
We do know that one of the detainees is a journalist, a man who'd been sheltering in that school. He works for a London-based Arab newspaper.
And others identified include UN workers, school directors, and even children. And even Israel, who initially claimed that this was a contingent of Hamas members, actually brought the estimates down, saying that according to them, 85 to 90% of those were actually civilians. What we have in front of us are a number of fabrications by the Israelis to present an image of victory. The subjects of this fictional demonstration, though, are unfortunately the innocent Palestinians that have been made victim to this heartless display. What took place contravenes the Geneva Convention when it prohibits outrages upon personal dignity. However, for the Palestinians, this is just another instance where they await justice that seems to never come.